Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. Continuing this week with the retrospective of Imperium with issue 37, and Imperium is for the Warhammer 40,000 setting. So 37 issues later, we are still moving along. It's definitely been an interesting ride, and yeah, still got plenty more issues to go, especially the combat patrol also now in progress. Anyway, getting straight into it, front of issue 37 of Imperium with the Tau. So we have I'm assuming it's a crisis battle suit. I'm a little hazy with the Tau units, but there it is, front and center. So that does look very cool. We obviously have the Fire Warriors and the Ethereals and all sorts of other Tau units in the background. In terms of this particular issue, so we will be learning about the Tau Empire, how to build and paint terrain, which I suspect will be these thermic plasma conduits, and there would be a bit of a fold out on the Cyphos war zone. So that's that. Contents page, plasma conduits, which do look pretty cool. Story-wise, the Tau Empire, the Riser and Metallica Forge World story, bits and pieces about that, and the War for Ramus, which is the fold-out for the war zone. How to build the conduits, how to paint, and then from a playthrough perspective, we have some information about the shooting phase, charge phase, and cracking the Aegis, which will probably be the mission. Plasma conduits. If I had $1 for every time I heard the word plasma conduit, I'd probably have a few dollars. So the completed plasma conduits, looking very cool, and whoever has painted them has tried to do some OSL, so it does look very cool. Will I try that? Who knows? Time will tell. But yeah, just some little interesting tidbits about them. It's a nice little story blurb down here. How conduits have a battle record, I do not know, but there you go. They have one. It even has like a random D6 chart generator, so there you go. The things you can do with terrain. Story-wise, the Tau Empire, so pretty much in the format of a inquisitorial report. So there's a bit of the longer version of the front cover artwork, and continuing through that report style review of the Tau, so the greater good, the Tau technology, the Ethereals, and the alien auxiliaries, e.g. the Groot. Metallica, gleaming giant of the Ultima Segmentum, so clearly it is a Forge World planet, and Skitarii in a particular theme, Iron Skulls. It actually does look pretty cool. Does remind me of Sisters of Battle. And Riser, probably yet another Forge World, and probably the Skitarii of that particular planet. So once again, definitely not too bad. I still have my opinion on the Skitarii. As I said many issues ago, model-wise it looked cool. Would I build an army? Probably not. How to build the plasma conduits. So it does look pretty straightforward. Probably don't necessarily need parts, not parts, I was going to say sub-assembly, but bear in mind there will be things like clipping the mold lines, and there will be some components that you do not wish to glue. So how to build, going through the building process, pretty much putting the large pipes together, the bends and other sections. I suspect there'll actually be like individual parallel parts of conduit, not necessarily like a single conduit unit, but it does look very cool. So there you go. By the time you finish everything, we'll have probably 3 conduit pipes, and do we actually have a name for this? Fusion batteries, apparently. So there you go. So that's the how to build, how to paint. So, how to paint the plasma conduits. So you will start off with a lead belcher base coat, which makes sense. A crag blue to basically put some color on the actual plasma coils. corn red just to detail some cables and part of the battery housing. The first coming of Norn oil, of course, just to do that first layer of shading. Retributor armor to pick out some of the golden areas, just add some color, so we do have a few steps of that. Rune Lord brass, once again, to just start picking out things, so it's going to be heavily metallic, but you'll be using your various metallics to pick out parts. Rakoth flesh for what appears to be some of the skulls within the actual, I think that's the battery pack. Mephiston red as well. Agrax earth shade to do some of the shading on some of the other colors like the Retributor armor, probably the Rune Lord brass as well, just because it gives a bit more of a earthier tone. So that's pretty much all of that. That is very cool. And then the final gathering. So that's pretty much with the paints up until this point. It does look very cool. The OSL is probably for much later down the track, which is weird because I'm pretty sure we have had a white. There you go. What do we have here? So we have some rules regarding invulnerable saves, mortal wounds, ignoring runes. Now, at the point of this retrospective, 11th edition has been announced for a June release. So these rules, they're not completely redundant because invulnerable saves still exist, mortal wounds still exist, ignoring runes still exist. So the context has potentially changed between this particular edition, which I still suspect was 9th, to going into what will be the 11th. And then just a nice little image here of, what do we have here? Necrons and some Ultramarines. Was it Assault Intercessors? Probably Captain. And I believe those are the Outriders. I do miss the old bikes. Charge phase. So we have some information about the charge phase. So that would have been the shooting phase. So that previous part, charge phase. So going into the individual sections of those, and then cracking the Aegis, which will be the mission. Necrons and the Adeptus Mechanicus. And there we go. Scout mission, power struggle. There's a breakdown of the actual mat, which actually tells you use the one from issue 18. So there you go. And then the actual mission briefing, the units allowed, rules, etc. So that is that. Last page of Imperium is always that little promotional page on the actual magazine itself. And on the very last, back page, so coming soon, or more to the point, what was released afterwards. Issue 38, we already know, will be the Uriel Yellow, the Technical Astro Granite, and a texture tool. So I'm actually looking forward to that one. Mainly because I do actually want to start putting some textures onto bases so I can start doing something a bit different. And then issue 39, so the last issue of the 30s, we will go back into, I dare say, the Mechanicum. And what was that particular unit? Something I can't remember. It is the Cataphron Destroyer. How could I possibly forget? I believe it's a unit of 3 anyway, so we had one of these a few issues ago. We'll get another one in issue 39. And I suspect there'll probably be a third of these in the 40s. I don't want to say issue 40, but I'll just say the 40s. So that was issue 37 of Imperium. Now, what else was included? So here's the actual fold-out, or Ramesses? I don't know. I always get really tongue-tied with some of these things. So we're still in that Warzone Cyphos, so that's part of the fold-out. There's another part of the fold-out, Legions of the Zarakan Dynasty. So basically a lot of these Canoptic units. The Tomb Blades, which I believe was issue 35. We saw one of those, so we'll probably get 2 more at some point in time. What do we have here? Some probably different, I was going to say zones on the war zone. I'm not sure if that's even the right usage of the word in that context. But different places, we'll stick with places within the war zone. Now if I open that up, there you go. So there's larger war zone. So I suspect some of these might be these particular things on the left and the right of the fold out. So I don't want to say key objective areas, but locations, key locations. There we go. That's what happens when you read some of this. So these are different key locations on the war zone. What haven't we seen? So we've seen that, and I believe we saw that. So this was the last part of the fold out. Adeptus Mechanicus, Disciples of the Machine God. Some more of those Cataphron Destroyers and the Scutari Maniples. I still think they actually do look pretty cool. I have no idea what they're going to be like to paint, but we'll get there eventually. So that was the fold out. And then lastly, we do have the Plasma Conduits. So that is one side of the runner. Decently sized. The detailing isn't too bad. Like, it's definitely not going to be very precise needle pin type of detailing. So an appropriate brush will be able to get into that, as we've seen from the issue. So that was one side of it. Let's have a look at the other side. So the detailing is very nice. On the back side, definitely not too much, because this will pretty much form the interior of the coils. So definitely very cool. Can we get a quick look at that? So yes, I suspect it will be a case of I'll glue them together and then never touch them ever again. But even then, because of their size, they won't be too challenging to paint. In fact, I think those are supposed to be some of the battery coils that probably go into here. So that's very cool. But yeah, the detailing is very nice on these. Very, very nice. Okay. So that pretty much brings us to the end of the retrospective unbagging and page 2 of issue 37 of Imperium. Only a few more issues left of the 30s before we get into the 40s, and then once we hit the 40s, I think we still have about 50 issues to go. Still easily enough Imperium between now and the end of the year, if not into next year, unless I do like 2 a week for whatever reason. But yeah, it's been fun. It's definitely a lot of units I need to start peeling out, because I do want to try and build some type of army list with them, namely the Necrons. Thank you very much for watching this retrospective unbagging. Feel free to do the usual like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. It does help support the channel, and I do appreciate it. Feel free to check out Instagram and the YouTube community tab. Both will be tracking some of the active stuff I am doing, which may or may not be 40k related, but I do try and wiggle some in when I do get a chance. Otherwise, with that being said, stay safe and take care, and I will catch you all in issue 38, which will be in a week's time. Combat Patrol, which is running in parallel with this. Maybe some other 40k content on the channel. I am trying to put a little bit more up. Otherwise, there's plenty of other content also being pushed through the channel. So, until the next time, see ya.